Alright guys, so I haven't done one of these for a little while, but I thought I'd get into covering build order videos again. And I'm going to start by going with the one that's probably changed the most since the recent patches that have changed town center costs. So we're going to go with a quick second town center opening here. And I've actually picked a water map that I'm going to do it on, which is unusual because I'll typically open dock, but you know, it doesn't really matter for the purposes of the video. So we're going to start by opening straight on the hunt. As soon as this finishes, we're going to get hunting dogs. As soon as this villager finishes, we're going to get the second storehouse for the wood. So we're not worried about going for an early barracks. From here we can go for an early dock, or we can just go for the quick town center. So we're going to go for the quick town center. Doesn't actually matter a great deal with going straight up to 5 villages or just to 4 on the food at this stage. But you're going to want to go up to 5 villages on food and wood, and then start stone gathering as well. Oh, that's really lucky. And yeah, take hunting dogs. If you are concerned you're going to get spear rushed, don't take hunting dogs. Because then you've either got the wood to go for a barracks of your own and try and defend, or just go for picker's gloves, sit on the berries, and then just continue on with the build, otherwise as normal. Because ideally, the purpose of this build is just to get second TC as quickly as you can. So you get the double villager production, so make sure you've always got 1 to 2 villagers in the queue. In mid and late game, you don't actually want to overqueue stuff, because that's resources you could have been spending at another production building. You know, and if you're starting to bank production resources, then it's time for you to actually get some more wood and throw down more production buildings. So I've gone for a pretty lazy, greedy scout here. If I was anticipating spear rush, obviously I'd try and scout my opponent after I've basically seen where 2 hunts and 1 to 2 gold mines are. Preferably 2. I'm including the ones around your base. So yeah, realistically you want to find a second gold mine and a second hunt. And then start scouting your opponent. This is supposed to be Swamp Pass. Oh, okay, this is the skirmish version of Swamp Pass. It's the old version. This map is really different at PvP. So anyway, bring these guys back together. From here, I actually had them gathering here a little bit longer. You can actually send them straight away as soon as you get that second age queued. Then yeah, set up to actually still take handsaw and have another villager train as soon as you age up. And this is why this map got reworked, because this amount of water in between players makes it effectively an island map. You're not getting across there without running into warships. So yeah, the point right now is just to beeline towards the town center. In fact, don't worry about going for the 4th villager back on food, unless you're playing something like Babylon or Egypt. In fact, you might even, if you are Babylon or Egypt, you probably elect to actually keep an extra villager here rather than transferring it to stone. But at this rate, I might even be able to squeeze this out without getting housed. So we're going to see if we are going to put this close enough here, we should be able to just get this done without being housed, if we're going to stream the next few villages onto it as well. But that's a lot of villages to actually have building here. Realistically, you could have 2 or 3 of these guys continuing to chop to get that production building up. Maybe send one on the gold to distance gather as well, to set up to get units that are going to cost gold, like military. Or maybe even go for chisel, or if you haven't got it by now, taking hunting dogs. So there's a bit of thought that goes into pretty much everything you do here. And I'm not going to need that much gold straight off the bat here. But make sure you've got enough food that you can maintain double villager production. And get that second town center down, get the first production building down now. And start transitioning into a more aggressive game. Because you've played this greedy in Age 2, well, to get to this far into Age 2, you can generally from here actually sit in Age 2 for quite a while. So this is a really nice build for civs like Greeks. And I want to get another couple more villagers on food now, because that barracks is going to mean I've got more food expenditure. I've banked up a bit of gold here, which it could be a problem, but let's assume that our opponent, being Persia, we're worried about Asabara, so it's actually pretty nice to have that bit of gold. I can even cancel both of these. Make sure that that's training instead. So prioritize villagers over having other things in the queue behind stuff that's already training. Try and just gather these somewhat evenly. And yeah, assuming our opponent's doing pretty much the same thing, but they're also going to go for like some Asabara opening to try and harass and unsettle me. Pretend to prepare for that. Keep adding production. Like getting a second and third production building quickly from this point is really important. But at the same time, if your opponent has done anything less greedy than this and hasn't actually dealt any damage to your economy, you're actually going to be quite a fair bit ahead when that third production building finishes. So we're getting the spears out. Zasabara going to be utterly helpless against us. Make sure we start getting houses as well. I think the range here has actually made this a little bit difficult, because I've now really put up my wood income requirements as well as my gold, which the gold isn't such a problem, but the wood is. So from here you probably actually want to have one villager's constantly producing houses. Like what I'm doing right now is actually something you want to try and minimize. What you really want to do is have only 1 to 2 villagers building houses, and if you can, even try and have to build the houses somewhat offset. So you're just constantly jumping up by 5 population maximum, while also jumping up by 5, you know, population actually coming out into the field. So I've overgathered wood, food a little bit here, so I can just put these guys straight onto wood instead, because that's my next most needed resource. And also put these guys back on the hunt. That was actually a really lucky catch there. Oh yeah, keep her making. And now we've got a pretty nice army incoming. In fact, I've overgathered a bit of food here. In an ideal world, I wouldn't be getting housed here as much, and I wouldn't be banking this food. So what I can actually look at doing is, again, cut the villagers off food, put them on what I'm actually going to need. In fact, I want to start getting some stone, because now that I've got 3 production buildings, it's the perfect time to add an armory. With other builds that rely on military out in the field a little bit more early on, and don't have this much eco, you probably actually want to add the armory a little bit later even. But in this case, you know, 3 production buildings is about where I want to add armory. Start getting 3 or 4 gatherers on stone. Start over gathering on stone. Obviously I can also cut that, start gathering a bit more food. Like my food bank's slowly starting to trickle down. My gold bank's actually climbing. If I can squeeze in a little bit more wood here, I can pretty much try to take age 3. Transitioning over to these, and I probably should have taken that a little bit sooner, but I've really only just started ramping up my berries eco, so it's not too bad to not have picker's gloves just yet. I'll try and put a bit of pressure on. Assuming this is a real player, they wouldn't have these so many towers, but they would actually be going for a second town center a lot faster here. Try to get housed, and you can even go up to 2 armory, but at this stage, you know, you're probably best off just aging up, getting that first upgrade or 2 in queue, and then worrying about actually adding the second armory, or in Greek's case, adding the academy, because that's also going to speed up armory upgrades, as well as all upgrades, and even unit production later on. It's a water map, so I can actually start transitioning to water. In fact, you could even transition to water after you've actually established a bit of land presence, once you've either gotten to 3 production buildings and sort of wrestled the game out of your opponent's hands, feel free to take the water behind it. I've got the wood. I've got a lot of wood gatherers here. I probably need to actually get a handful more gold. Age up is going to mean I've got access to a lot of upgrades. Like age 3 is probably one of the biggest spikes in terms of a resource requirement. Maybe even start being mindful of where my gold mines and remaining hunts are, walling them off, that sort of thing. But yeah guys, I thought I'd just give you a bit of a tip on how to open a bit more effectively, particularly with second town center opening. Now that it's also gone back to the original resource cost of 300 wood and 300 stone. For about a year that it was back up to 400. And on top of that, we've also had global gather rate reduction about a year ago as well, or a bit over a year ago now. It's actually crazy to think it was so long ago. Again, be mindful to try and get these houses out a little bit better than I have. And they've got a lot of towers, so going shield rim over damage upgrades actually isn't a bad idea. From here I probably want to add more production, get that 3rd town center up pretty quickly here as well. You get a little bit more stone gathering done. Breeks is actually a civ that you probably don't necessarily want to go for a quick age 3 and just sort of fill out your ranks, get 4 or 5 production buildings, maybe the 2nd armory in as well, and then worry about age 3. But sometimes it's also handy just to make sure that you can get up to 3 town center on larger maps because your opponent's playing quite safe. And at this stage I've really lost my critical mass here, so it's best off just backing out. Snipe what villages I can, otherwise get out. Yeah, even that was losing a bit more military than I needed to. Finish the fucking house, please. I need to bump back up this wood eco, so we'll do that. Let's try and minimize the amount of wasted drop off, because I mean sometimes it's only going to give you 1 resource, sometimes it's going to give you like 10 to 15. Minimize these idlers if you can. Get more stone. We can get a lot of wood gatherers and land here because we've got dock as well. But yeah guys, I've sort of dragged this out beyond the point I needed to now. Hope you enjoyed watching, and you might have learned something hopefully too. Or maybe you can teach me something. Yeah, I'll catch you guys around.